Hello, everybody. Look, as we speak, the oil giant BP, it is facing shareholders. Hello over there. It's facing its shareholders, well, at its annual general meeting. And I tell you what, investors, well, they're very angry. They're very angry. They're turning up the heat. Let's take a look at this. In fact, actually, it could threaten to turn into a full-on revolt. It's all because of the growing anger over how much the boss is being paid. Chris Roebuck is Professor at Cass Business School and a familiar face to us. Chris, always good to have you with us.
Thank you.
OK, Chris, this pay package from Mr Dudley at BP, the formula of how it increases was decided back in it's a three-year period.
Absolutely.
It was decided and agreed upon in 2014. In fact, it was approved by 96% of the shareholders.
Yep.
What's the problem?
Well, the problem is the question about, are you sure that the pay formulas that have been agreed are a true reflection of A, performance, and B, a true reflection of what you want people to be paid for? So you can say he has achieved the objectives, but also you can say, how can you justify an individual being paid, for example, 473 times more than a paramedic who saves lives every day?
I agree with that. And of course, absolutely. But a lot of people also say, well, that's just not the way the corporate world runs. Pay is done on performance, as you said, right? And actually, I've been trying to do some research here and look. Many in the industry will say that BP is in a much better place since Dudley has taken over the helm. And BP's safety and operating performances, they were excellent throughout 2015. In fact, the company's performance surpassed all of the board's expectations, if you will.
Yes.
So that would equate to, I mean, the only reason that they've seen a big plunge is the price of oil, right? The price of oil. So should CEOs in the oil industry, should their pay drop if oil prices drop?
In terms of performance, no, because that's just one of the effects of the market. It's about what they do in the environment where oil has dropped. But the key question is it justified to have that level of pay? One of the key things that people keep talking about is, you know, A, you can say this is a failure of the pay system if it doesn't reflect performance, and it does. B, it's a failure of the presentation of this to investors because they're not happy. And C, it's a failure of an understanding of the bond between a chief executive and senior leaders and employees and wider society. If people on the street and investors are saying this is fundamentally wrong, it may be right contractually, but is it right morally? And I think what's happening now is people are saying more and more, organisations are not just about making as much money as possible.
If it's just briefly, if it's a moral question, then do they have to look at the entire industry, apart from the big boss at Shell, who took that big 77% cut, the boss of Chevron, the boss of Exxon? Both those companies' value fell more than BP, but both of those bosses got a bigger pay rise than the boss at BP, and they're going to go, well, hang on, we play in a global arena here, level playing field. If you want somebody to be the boss, you know, you've got to compete with those packages.
Yeah, people often say it's the market, but it's not necessarily an open market on the basis that chief executives can pay remuneration consultants to go and find a chief executive who's earning more than them and then justify their own pay increase. The moral of the story is the differential between employees' pay and general pay and chief executives' pay over the last 10 to 15 years has more than doubled when the average performance of their organisations has not. It poses basic questions on how we assess how senior leaders are paid, because in this year 99% of the world's population will have as much income as the top 1%.
And we've done that on this program. Chris, I've got to wrap it up, unfortunately, but thank you very much, Chris Roebuck. In a couple of words, can the shareholders at the AGM force the board's hand?
No, it's advisory.
Okay, right.
But it might be morally sensible.
Okay, Chris, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you very much for joining us.